They want to look like a team that's ready for Worlds, a team that could make it to the finals here for LCK.
Yeah.
And winning this third game would be a big step towards that.
Absolutely. Like, you got to be better than even they were in spring. And right now, I mean, I think they're still building up to that. So one step at a time. In GenG, there's definitely been some turbulence, right? They dropped a couple of series to a couple big teams. T1 were able to 2-0 them. And they defeated DRX, but if you're GenG, you're on the top of the LCK right now. You really want to be able to defeat HLE at this point in time. So definitely a lot on the line, which was even in our points of the match.
Yeah.
Any loss for either of these teams is very big.
Exactly. And, you know, we talked about this a lot recently in the casters ourselves as we see these bans are mirrored. The Lucian comes through, actually, though.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, top 3 is so hard to call right now, and first seed matters a lot, second seed matters a lot, right? So these games are extremely important. Like, you, even as 8-2 as GenG, you do not want to be dropping these. Like, they have permanent consequences. Let's see if Diana gets removed. And
hey,
yes, we were calling for this. I was talking to you about this.
All feels right in the world.
I was like, we need this to happen. I cannot watch a third game of Diana. And now they're just going to go straight to the Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Not going to take the Xin Zhao, which was also open.
Imagine if Diana was like every other champion, it feels like in the meta, and she could be flexed. Then we just never see her.
Yeah, I shudder to think.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
Wait until they figure out how to play her mid lane again.
Oh boy.
Well, let's see what the response is going to be here. I think you can go down, yeah, it's very easy Xin Zhao pick up here, but you can also go down the route of picking up an 80 carry here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind to see Depth's Callista, to be honest.
Or you just go Xin Zhao Lulu right off the bat, or Xin Zhao Karma, or something like that. You know, something to enable this Xin Zhao to get even more value out of it. There's a reason why this pick is banned all the time.
Yeah.
It goes so well with a lot of different Enchanter champions. I don't want to say supports just yet because, you know, sometimes they're played in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, even when they are played by the mid player, they end up being essentially a secondary support oftentimes, as we will see the Rise hovered, but not taken. The Rise really strong into any sort of melee engage-based comp, and when you have the Xin Zhao and the Gwen this face up, I think you want to grab that to guarantee it's not banned in the second phase. And, you know, Rise scales very well. We've seen a lot of amazing performances across the LCK, especially Gory recently on this champion. We've seen Faker pick it up a little bit more, but it's just so composition specific. No, that's not going to happen. No okay.
Chovy mid Rammus? I mean, if
I'm
it
like,
was one player, like...
Effort playing Nasus again? Effort Nasus hover is just like, it has to happen. Leona comes through because she is the best support. Doesn't matter. That's how most players are feeling right now in this meta. Rel taken away from the Callista. Can take away the Alistar next. I think it's probably the easiest choice if you're going to go down that same path. Alternatively, you could try to you know, look at what will be played in the solo lane on the top side of the map against the Gwen. Like Jace could be banned here. Again, assuming that this Gwen is going to the top side. Because I know it's very rare, but Xin Zhao is played sometimes in the solo lane.
Yeah.
When he recently became popular, he was like, that was what he was before he became a jungle by, you know, LPL players and whatnot. But I think the Jace ban is a safe one. Alistar is a great choice though, and that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah. The issue with this is that, like, yeah, you can take away some of the top tier supports, but there's still a lot of good options for Callista lanes.
Yeah.
I mean, Set is still in the game.
Gragas still exists.
Set is fantastic into what they have already. Could be picked here by HLE. There's the Nautilus, there's the Braum, which we saw. The Varus, it was totally ignored here. They were actually focusing all their bans on a Chovy. They take away a Kali and LeBlanc, and they might just leave this one available for Deft.
Yeah, I mean, 4 of those 5 bans are kind of eyeing Chovy directly, as we will see the Kaisa come through right now here instead. And even though it doesn't work very thematically with the composition, I would really love to see the Jace pick here to just completely shut down this Gwen side lane. Zillion being hovered. That would be quite the unique Kalista pairing. I don't think that's going to be real. There's
Tarek. Okay. And you know what? With all of this hard engage on the side of Hanwha Life, kind of reminds you of what we saw from GenG in game number 1, but not quite as much CC and hard engage.
Okay, well, with the volley bear, we're getting closer to the hard CC and the hard engage that you were just mentioning.
Well, I was talking about on the side of Hanwha Life, especially
sure.
because with the Kai'Sa and everything. But yeah, Volibear is taken up here for Klid.
The GenG draft is really interesting because it's very front-loaded, but it also has a little bit of scaling into it. It has the ability to realm warp in is going to be scary, as the Lulu will be the final pick here and will be in the mid lane. So going to be played by Chovy. Now, what's interesting about this draft for Hanwha Life Esports, and I think part of why they were so reluctant to do it so early, is because you can pull a lot of bans on Chovy, as we saw here, the Akali, the LeBlanc, but you're not really expecting as GenG that they'll actually put the Lulu in the mid lane necessarily. So I think once you see the Leona lock in, you feel like, well, they wouldn't do this to Chovy, right? They wouldn't actually put Chovy's impact down so low, but they do.
It's at the point where I'm like, let's just play Gwen mid. I don't know why. It feels like teams that have insanely strong solo mid laners sometimes just love to put them on picks that are good for your comp, but then again, you have Chovy playing Lulu, or you have Faker playing Karma, or you have,
I think that's why GenG just didn't see this coming, and why they didn't ban it or think about it, even though you and I discussed it. We know how strong this pairing is with Xin Zhao, just generally speaking, but it is a limiting factor, right? Is how much Chovy can actually have an impact in carry and crush lane, right? These are things that you don't expect to see from him with the Lulu pick. His impact is going to be lower than it generally is, but I think this is what Hanwha Life Esports is missing, is an evolution of being willing to put Chovy on low-impact picks to play for the team, to play for the comp. And seeing this happen in this draft, I think, is an evolution of Hanwha Life Esports, as their identity is becoming about the 5 and not the 1. Or 2, as it has often been.
Well, I hope you're right, Wolf, because I think they still need to prove it, right? Like, you can say, okay, like this is an interesting idea, especially because Johan hard carried so well in the last game, right? Like, this is showing that, okay, we can trust Johan to get the job done. We can support him with Chovy. We're having this again. Is anyone gonna auto attack this time?
Call Kespa jail. He needs to go to Kespa jail right away. That's it.
Rose up the king soon. Oh, man.
I'm calling Kespa because that was the most disgraceful thing that could ever have happened in professional League of Legends, especially after what happened before. Now, our referees will check to see if it was perhaps a misclick. After what happened in Game 1, I'm sad that happened, but you know what? He's going to regen it back.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Chovy, you can tell his feelings are hurt. Put up the Crab Brave. He immediately exited the lane.
The Crab Brave is
for a while on the side there.
The Crab Brave is a clear sign of depression, sadness.
Well, I mean, it's basically D: in League of Legends, right? Like,
yeah. It's
great. I love it. It's a fantastic emote.
The Crab Brave is usually covering up for something else that's going on inside, you know.
True. Don't be afraid to express yourself beyond the Crab Brave, guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes throw out the Pengus.
Sad B.
Yeah, Sad B is good too. Nongshim are very good at expressing themselves.
Sometimes.
Love the Sad B.
Set with a trophy is my go-to. I don't know why he has that, but, you know. Well, this is level 1. So
yeah,
this is how it's going.
BDD's first game of Rise, and I actually really wanted to see Rise in the last game. I feel like it would have potentially even been better. I can handle the Lucian lane very well, as the Azir did to a certain extent. But, you know, we're going to have the Tarek just laugh at the Leona, even at level 2. It's a lot of nice damage traded back. As you can see, he's 5-0.
Yeah, he played it a few times in spring, and Tarek is currently 1-0 in the LCK. I actually don't remember if it was him. I think it was, actually. It was, in fact. I just checked. He was the one who played it earlier this season. So, you know, just a kind of life-exclusive champion here, but works so well into the comp. Oh my god, the refs are going to check. Was it a misclick? No, it was an A click. It was intentional.
안 때려. 되는데. 평이 때리고 도망가.
And like, just hit him back is what he said. And like, I like how like we get the shot of Rulu who's like actually very offended by this. And okay, so if anyone thought, by the way, that Wolf was like making up some weird narrative point in game 1, like I am very serious about what I mean when I say that moment is actually a sign of respect for both players. And and like doing that is actually considered bad taste. So I like, and this is it's actually hilarious that we joked about showing the replay. That Casper was going to review it, but then we actually got it, and like. So if you still question me after this, I don't know.
I can't believe you've done this.
Oh.
It's a nice little setup here. Rascal does have a minion wave coming in, so it's actually turns out to be not a nice setup. We got a little roam coming up to the top side. As the Crux are down, they're trying to find an angle here, but they're going to be spotted on the ward. And now it is 2v3 at this moment in time underneath the turret. Let's see if GenG can actually make this happen. There's no teleport on Chovy. He has cleanse. As in they go, and they're going to burst down the Xin Zhao and get a bunch of damage onto Morgan as well for the bonus.
They knew better not to attack the Gwen. She only has a Doran's blade, but we know how it goes. Yeah, that was really well played by GenG. That's what Volibear does. That's what Clid does. He is 8-2 on this champion, and he doesn't farm the jungle. He farms the champions. I'd say that every time he plays this, and 8 out of 10 times so far, it has been extremely successful. Not just like, that was a pretty solid game for him. No, he does find value. Even if he falls behind in terms of the jungle farming, he ends up not playing these ganks for himself, but actually for the laners, right? Like, this is not a selfish move, right? This is what he does is try to empower, in this case, Rascal on the Lee Sin.
Yeah, Clid has he's picked up 4 player of the game so far this season. 2 of them are on Volibear, 2 of them are on Diana. And he's really one of the only junglers. There's been, you know, some of the guys that tried it, but Clid's definitely the one guy who stands out as the big Volibear jungler for summer. And this is what he does. And not having that teleport on Chovy absolutely matters.
네, 이거 짜우로 점사하자. 내가 먼저 한대요. 기다려.
Okay, so Spain is saying the wait for a second. Now he's going to go fight. And there you go.
나 빼면서 봄. 빼면서 봐. 빼면서.
Yeah, you get out, basically.
Oh, look at this. Rascal tries to hop away, and BDD's here. He's going to get away. We didn't quite see how that started. Maybe a little face check of Rooney here in the mid lane. We'll have to wait and see. But
yeah, you know, really interesting setup there. BDD hits 6, but not going to be important for his ultimate. Just the extra scaling as Chovy is going to have to sit back. Chovy was being very aggressive and very annoying, and actually cost BD a few CS earlier on, but you know, it's Rise, so he's going to be very comfortable once he has all 3 abilities up. Hits combos, and it's weird because it's rare to see Chovy behind, but this is a matchup issue, and this is again it's not a selfish pick for Chovy, it's actually a team pick, right, in this scenario, and often Chovy plays for the lane, plays for himself, plays to get fed, and this is going to be a completely different look, and it's not the first time we've seen Chovy do it. I mean, he plays Galio a lot too, right? But
yeah,
you know, it's a situation where you're seeing Hanwha Life Esports really change how they're looking at the game, and Rascal is going to be alone here.
Yeah, he doesn't have flash, so they were considering it BDD with no teleport, but you gotta look at this bottom side. Actually, it's we're getting pressure up there, but look at how much they can get done in the bottom side. And Vista and Deft immediately have to back away and respect this rotation. The push coming out from the Rise is big on Lulu, who's basically just trying to sit there and keep up. Yeah, that gives a lot of freedom for BDD to roam the map.
And BDD getting this blue buff means that he's going to be so much more annoying to deal with here in this lane. Look at Chovy's mono bar right now. Johan.
Yeah, he's going to knock him away, but in comes the Rise. He's going to get this long route as Morgan comes over the wall. They're trying to trade damage back as Rascal's been very slippery this game. Able to get the ultimate away from Johan.
Ends up being pretty nice there, the trade. Realm Warp used for BDD, but not the end of the world, not too impactful right now at this stage of the game. And he has the blue buff, which is pretty huge. Like, this is just GenG using mid-prio so extremely well. And that's what you do oftentimes on blue side when you have a Kalista, right? You can push the lane super hard, you can threaten dives. That's why this Volibear is so amazing for them. They've had so much success with it on red side in particular, but like on blue side, this specific play is like worst case scenario, they get their blue. Best case scenario, they make a mistake and we actually kill the bot duo, and then we get a huge lead. So it's a really smart play. Now they have so much prior to rotate for the Rift Herald, which has already started. And Life Esports are like not even in the vicinity. They just know they can't win this exchange.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? I mean, top lane's pushed in, your mid lane's pushed in. Oh, your bottom lane is also pushed in. Your jungler is falling behind. I suppose that Johan is farming well, but as we already mentioned, Clid, he likes to farm the champions. And he's been successful on that to start, taking a lot of potential power out of the Gwen lane, where maybe that would be the one lane where, you know, maybe Morgan gets a gank and starts to get ahead up there and makes life difficult for the Lee Sin. But because that doesn't really happen, Life are definitely playing behind the 8-ball here a bit. It's going to be difficult for them to do much until we start seeing some wombo combo team fights.
Yeah, it is going to be really tough. And the thing is, you know, is Clid massively ahead? Like, is he snowballing this entire game? Like, have we flipped the chessboard? Like, we're not quite there yet. And we have seen him actually get way bigger leads than this. But so far, he's kind of on pace with where, you know, he's setting these lanes up to be. Heading into the mid game, the fact they get the first Drake, like, they're hitting all the marks, right? They're hitting all the benchmarks that this composition needs to hit so far. And Life just need a little bit more time. Now, if this is as good as it gets and we're just going to be sitting at a 600, 700 gold lead for the next 10 minutes, then there could be some problems in terms of those later team fights. But right now, so far, so good.
Yeah. And it's definitely a combo of two things in the mid lane the more I think about it, right? The Ryze getting this much priority into Lulu, who was picked for the, you know, the wombo combo. You're also giving it to Chovy, so you're taking away carry potential there. I really like Ryze in the current meta, especially against so many kind of divey, like, melee bruisers. He just gets so much value because he's really good at low ranges when people are running straight at him, right? And he scales really well as well, and he's not even bad in the early game either, and especially with all of this mid prio.
No one of these melee champions right now can really afford to build magic resistance. So, you know, you're just always going to have that guaranteed damage later on. And
like in the old days when Ryze was, you know, people were trying to play him, it was like we still had Orianna a lot, we still had Victor Azir all the time. There was a lot of control mages that could potentially shut him down in lane. But I mean, look at this guy. He's up on the top side again, and there's not really much that they can answer to this.
Morgan might look for the trade here, though.
I mean, he'll try. He's trying to get down to the Lulu, and he will be successful. He does have to flash in a bit of an extended trade, and Chovy's just like wandering around with Cleanse, like,
he's
guys,
like, well,
what's going on? Like, do I get to play the game soon?
Yeah, well, it's going to take a little bit longer. I don't know if soon is quite the, well, I don't know if soon is the metric we're using. You know, if we're talking about, like, release dates of expansions for, you know, another different game company, we might be like on the mark.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, this moment that you see at the top, skirmish, is like showing a lot of respect to Morgan. They get his flash though, and that's, you know, that's enough going into this next Drake fight for GenG. That's going to be a big tool gone. Now he does have teleport, Rascal does as well, so they can come in here. We are going to have a big flashy fight right now, and Life Esports do have a comp that can fight against this. It's not like GenG just has the better comp at this stage in the game, and they have Cryo, in fact, as well. See if they try to contest this. A little bit slow, actually, GenG here.
And they're going to come on over, and it looks like they just want to go for the punish, as Clid is like, you guys want to fight? Let's fight! I got the invulnerability now coming in. Nobody on the side of Life has gone down, though. As Rascal comes in, he's going to line up a really nice kick, as the Xin Zhao is trying to get some value. Actually, that's the Gwen. Trying to get some value by herself, and can't quite do that, as Life thought maybe they could turn it around, but they were proven wrong.
Yeah, that was very close, though, and I honestly still kind of disagree with GenG's decision in that moment, how they used you know, they tried to basically say, okay, you got the Drake, but now we're going to collapse it on you and take it. I think if they had been a little bit more decisive, it was definitely a winnable fight for them, and it almost went badly. It's really nice ultimate there from Chovy, too, the Wild Growth coming up big, but they do end up getting themselves now a pretty massive gold lead, almost 3,000. the advantage. And I mean, this is how it starts, right? Clid can go invulnerable, so this is not really crazy what he's doing here. It's really well timed from Life. And then Ruler is just free hitting. So eventually you do end up winning this longer exchange. Johan had the wild growth, Rascal's here on the flank. But it was kind of risky, right? Look at all these health bars for GenG. If you don't execute that perfectly, there's a high risk that you fall behind. But they don't, right? And now they have the advantage they need. As we'll watch this from Clid. And he said, like, Leona na ult, and I'm out of here.
And
레오나 노공 야 그웬 빠져
And he said just fight. Like, he's basically just saying, like, they don't have ults, or Leona doesn't have ult, just push it.
And the thing about that teleport, I think, was a big mistake for Morgan, because he saw the teleport from Rascal coming in, and then he waited, tried to do a bit of damage to him as he was teleported, and then he teleported after into 5 members of GenG. And so he basically gave himself over with a late teleport, not in position as his team was trying to disengage. And it was basically just free food for the side of GenG after they had already won the fight. And definitely a bit unfortunate. Rascal getting so much more value with his teleport and the kick that came in.
Yeah. It's going to be a turret here for GenG. It will be the first of the game, so going to get that bonus as well. And there's no way to deny this. I actually really like Clid right before his back timing here. He's like, no, I'm just going to be here in case they try to pull something funny, you know. I'm going to put an end to that real quick. They, you know, obviously with this knowledge, Vista is trying to clear some deep wards if he can. But right now, you know, the lead here for GenG is basically in all regards except that Drake they weren't quite able to stop. Like, they were able to get the solo Ocean Soul, or rather solo Ocean Drake, but it is a Cloud Soul. Not that impactful, actually, for this team composition. I mean, obviously it's good for basically every comp to a certain extent because every champion has an ultimate button, but this is not like one of those ones where you go, this is amazing. It's not a Rumble comp or anything like that. So you don't really care.
Or an Ezreal. We saw that the other day. The Ezreal gets 2 True Shot barrages in 1 fight. I mean, you can kind of do that, especially if it's an extended fight with all of the cooldown. I guess you can call a reduction, you know, on his abilities when you land them. Reduce the cooldown of all of his abilities, of course. But it just compounds on that effect. As HLE looks like they want to fight this. In they go. It looks like they got the Sorelius as well, but the Taric ultimate is immediately pressed. What are you going to do? They're going to try to get in there as Morgan comes in does Vista as well, and they have huge lineup damage from the Gwen and the Kaisa. Just able to kind of burst them down.
That's never where you want to be against this, but they had no choice, and that's the power of Gwen sometimes. I mean, that's super high value. 3,000 damage in basically 3 seconds. And, you know, that's the end of that fight. No longer really able to contest for GenG. And she's just going to send Morgan straight back to the top lane. You don't have to really force the issue here and try to get the Rift Herald. You know, this late in the game, it's not going to be as impactful. But GenG were like, okay, I think our comp wins this fight at this exchange. But look at where Johan is, and this is the power of the wild growth, right? In this choke point, you guarantee...
damage.
Yeah, like you guarantee that they're going to be stuck there. Because there's no other option, there's no other choice. And Gwen is like, snip, snip, baby, I'm going in.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful about that. I like the way that HLE played around the Taric ultimate, you know, it's kind of like the Meganar, except it's a lot more, it's a lot shorter, it's a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, just wait for this, and then we go in. Johan tanks up a lot, essentially, and then the play is made. And so HLE do win a small skirmish. They're gonna get the Rift Herald on top of it, but it's the second one.
And, you know, I mean, the game, you know, if you're not really focusing on it, you can kind of forget that Chovy's playing a non-carry champion because his ultimates have been on point. He is always where he needs to be on the map. He did not take teleport, but he's always where, like, the timings of his rotations are really good. And, like, this Lulu pick is not what you want to see if you're a Chovy fan because you want the fireworks, but it's working out very well. And that last fight is just a sign of many other great fights we could see in the future to come if HLE Esports can corral these players, because it's so predictable, it's so telegraphed, like you said, how the Taric ultimate's going to work, but also how the volley bear engage is going to happen, where the Realm Warp is going to land, if that's how you're going to try to close the gap. HLE Esports just proved in that last fight that there is great hope for them in 5v5 team fights with the coordination they've shown.
Oh, it seems like Chovy wants to go. Nobody else wanted to go, and he's like, man, I wish I was playing Akali. But he actually really is. And And at least with that little maneuver, he'll push GenG off of the turret, so it's something. Still looking for an angle to drop down the Rift Herald tier for Johan. Still got a bit of time on that, but you can see GenG, they're really trying to make a case here to take down this turret, and with everybody on the side of Hanwha Life just backing away, they will have to give this one up to GenG.
Yeah, and it is, you know, going to be, like I said, not the most impactful Drake to take, but I mean, the thing is, like, it's not great in its isolation here for GenG, and it's also not only not an amazing soul for them, but also, like, they're not even close to getting the soul. So unfortunately for GenG, you don't feel really great at this moment. But I do wonder how GenG plan to win front-to-back team fights later on. You know, because the Volley Bear it's great for setting this up, but it doesn't have the same longevity that a lot of other junglers will have. Like the Xin Zhao will have so much power. Yeah, we're going to see this red buff fight.
You kind of just have to somehow absorb the Xin Zhao engage and what it offers alongside of the Leona. It's very reliable on the side of Hanwha Life, but if you can kind of like skirt around that and try to use late game power on the Ryze especially, but even also the Kalista, I think, can have some decent value against this kind of a composition. It's not like set Diana, who's always just pouncing on you. You can kind of like dance around some of these champions on the side of Hanwha Life a little bit better later on in the game. So you're going to have to do a bit of that and play around their Taric ultimate as well.
Rift Herald crashes through. Going to be a little bit of extra gold here for Hanwha Life. And, you know, GenG actually have to kind of stay here because if that second charge goes through, that's a lot of extra potential gold with the, you know, 11-13 buffing the turret gold on inner. And now, you know, this just gives you a bigger advantage across the map here. Morgan looking for a fight. Not going to find it, sadly for him.
Yeah. Rascal is pretty massively fed in this game.
Yeah.
He has the most CS out of everybody. And this is in a game with Chovy and a Ryze.
Yeah.
He's 2-0-1. Biggest bounty on him right now.
He has been just given so much freedom to push this top lane, and no one has really responded. If you look at the composition of Hanwha Life Esports, the Gwen, if she's not in the lane, like, she can't really punish, and you don't really have another great champion who can go, okay, well, don't worry, I'll take care of this. Especially because Chovy doesn't even have a teleport, right? So you don't have the ability to come at a moment's notice to shut him down. So he's abusing that fact to get quite fed and quite farmed. Still don't think he wants to clash with a Gwen in an extended trade. You can see this gold difference is, you know, it went up pretty high early, but it's relatively stayed the same otherwise. And it's not a game about the wallets here. It's a game about really the execution of the team fights. That's what's going to decide this game, unless, you know, GenG, of course, gets like, you know, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 gold ahead, then we could start talking about that. But this lead is not insurmountable by any means.
Yeah, I mean, GenG still do have a lot of very fed carries on their side, but it's really, you know, the composition of Hanwha Life that we keep talking about and how much value it brings with this combo that, you know, it was very obvious. It was kind of face up. You see this in Zhao, you're feeling like, okay, well, probably we're going to see a Lulu at some point. We were mentioning how in the draft we didn't believe that Chovy would actually play it, so we were thinking, oh, I guess it won't be the Lulu, but then it actually did happen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, even from behind, this comp can do wonderful things, especially if they can get the fights going and the execution correct.
It really is so much about that. And if you make any small mistake against GenG's comp, like GenG's comp's execution it's complex in terms of how it is done, but if you make a mistake as Hanwha Life Esports, it becomes very easy for GenG to just absolutely smash the fight, especially with the Fed members you've talked about, right? Especially the Ryze. You make one mistake, your wild growth is too early, or Vista gets caught because he's trying to look for a flank angle to hit that solar flare, and then GenG steamroll the fight. But if you do everything right, if you can actually fight the fight perfectly, or you can put them in a choke point like we saw that last fight there on the brush where Klid's standing, then, I mean, Hanwha Life Esports comp is so good. It's just about making sure that happens. And it's about comms, really, you know, and making sure you're making those right calls. And that's where Chovy's going to have to show different strength today. Here we go.
They want to press their buttons. They want to get in onto Life, who does have a stopwatch and a Fate's Call, but immediately they're going to get engaged upon. The Involve does come through. That's a really nice stun. The Dazzle gets a lot of value here. And the combo from the side of Hanwha Life isn't really getting the value. Look at Morgan now. He's all alone on the bottom side as he does get one, but it's only the support and everybody else dies. We mentioned it was going to come down to the execution. GenG absolutely steamrolled him in terms of that.
Yeah, that fight. That was not it, right? That was the mistake I was talking about. A little bit of overextension from Vista as Clid accidentally gets executed. You can see he puts his finger over his lips right there. He's like, shh, don't talk about that. But, you know, it does happen. He's trying to guarantee that minion survives. Just took an extra shot. But look at how this engage happens here. The Fate's Call is so great in moments like this because, okay, they've already used their speed up, right? So they've already used their Shirelias. The Vista goes in, and this is what I'm talking about. Fate's Call instantly on top of him, and now he's stuck. He's stopwatched, and there's no space for any DPS here. Morgan can't go in because there's no setup for him, and when he finally does, he does a ton of damage, but it's too late. The fight is over, your Leona's dead, and they were almost there. Like, and that's what I was talking about with Chovia. He's going to have to show a different strength than just absolutely popping off on a carry champion. It's going to be about his decision-making. So just actually does one.
용 먹어라, 용 먹어라.
Oops. Anyway, go get the Drake, and then covers his mouth really quick.
All right, well, when in doubt, flip over Baron. And who can blame them? I'm not sure this is going to work. They just want to set up a fight where they can actually get this combo to work out. As now they are going to get on top of Clid, but at this point, I think the wallets are getting pretty heavy. They are really struggling to take him down, as they will eventually, and now Rascal's gonna go in alone. It seems like the rest of GenG just didn't want anything to do with this fight.
Ryze is like, you know, we don't use this term, but he's the AP carry.
Well, they're getting in now, as you can see, fighting front to back. The damage is there, and in goes the Lee Sin, picks up a massive triple. As Rascal with the Quadra. They're trying to slow down Morgan, but they're not going to catch up to him, and he's full health. So just the Quadra, and now they can do the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, now, like you said right before that fight, now we're starting to talk about the wallets. Now we're starting to talk about the damage, and the Ryze this fed in an extended fight. His damage throughput is massive. And Hanwha Life Esports, like you said, it's about the, well, like we've both been saying this entire game, is the execution is important, but it's a comp that can't really fight if it doesn't work out because you don't have longevity in a fight, right? So Hanwha Life Esports are really just trying to sweep the rug out from under GenG with this fight. But then Clid is just so survivable that, like, if you just paused it right here, it's like, well, you know who wins this fight, right? And yeah, Rascal ends up going low because he's here by himself, but he does so much damage, and the BDD is like, okay, no one can touch me anymore? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
And then Rascal ends up stealing all of his kills in the end. But it's just, you can't deal with this Ryze. Slife over the wall, so beautiful. I actually didn't even notice that the first time around. And Rascal's just like, oh, I'll just take all the gold and all the credit.
He essentially just goes like, oh,
야, 펜타킬 줘, 펜타킬! 바로 가자, 바로 가자.
Like, give me a penta, give me a penta.
let's go to Baron.
Yeah. And they do exactly that. 2 minutes left on the buff. And I just don't see any way of defending this now, especially with Hanwha Life's comp. Like, how do you defend this?
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. They're 13,000 gold behind. The Baron buff is here, and it's kind of like the parade is already starting for GenG. As they're going to try one more time, and it's not going to work out.
I mean, I think a lot of people will be critical of this Lulu draft for Chovy, but for me, you know, I think something has to change for Hanwha Life eventually. You can't just have, you know, a 1v9 game every game and hope to be an LCK champion, and hope to be a Worlds contender. So, they tried.
Well, it's not going to work out this time. We'll see about the future. They're going to get in here to the mist as Rascal, he's trying to set it up again. He's really feeling himself this time around as he's looking for that player of the game vote. And this is just GenG steamrolling them at the end of Game 3. They went down in a very close one in Game 2, but they want to make everybody forget about that game and remember them as the guys on top. Rascal now 9-0-1. And he's just going to disable both of the turrets and look for the kills, as GenG do like to do. They're trying to take out Rascal. It's not going to happen. As you try to burst him down, you're not quite able to do that even as the Kaisa. And how about giving that kill over to Ruler, I guess. Down will go the Nexus.
That's the end of this series. Very exciting, very interesting start to the day.
Oh, they're doing it! They're getting in there! And they're going to take down 2. And does anybody die? They're like, oh, you spawned 2, let's kill him. And at the end of the day, it will be Volibear who goes down. Clid, again, sacrifices himself. for 3 extra kills for his team. Very dominant third game here for GenG. Really trying to solidify their